So guys, welcome back to the podcast. So today we've got Katie Keegan. Some people might recognise her from a famous appearance in the Bella magazine. Her transformation was featured in there, and we're going to talk through everything JD training, her journey, what she'd tried before, what worked for her, and everything in between. So let's get started. So welcome to the podcast, Katie.
Thanks for having me.
You can talk, you have to talk dead quiet. So talk to me a little bit about kind of what happened prior to signing up, and then obviously what triggered you to sign up. Obviously, for the people that are watching, you've worked with me online, but you are local as well. So yes. You do know me, you've been to fit camps, you've done the conditioning classes, etc. But talk to me about that first step, what triggered you to take that first step and why you did it.
I think we watched in the background for, I would say, 3 months. Watched a lot of local people, because it was a lot of locals at that time. Tried various diets, Summer World being the main one. Obviously just didn't work. And then the main person that made me message you was Leah Newton.
All right. I didn't know that.
Did you not?
No,
yeah,
I didn't
Leah
actually
Newton.
know that. Yeah, fair shout. First shout out to Leah, by the way. Thanks for that, Leah. I'll get you the referral code across.
Yeah, I think because she just had a similar physique to me, and I just thought a lot of diets and training programs are for like the thinner physique. You see a lot of thinner people. So then I seen Leah's and I was like, she's lost 4 stone. If she can do it, then maybe I can do it. So I messaged Leah, just getting a bit of a sort of out of view where it is and what do you do. And then, yeah, from that we sat and watched a little bit. Then we seen Gemma, and obviously again local. Messaged Gemma a couple of times. And then, yeah, I was like, if we don't do it, then we're never going to do it. And then I think I messaged you in the November to start in the January. And in my head, after I'd messaged you, I thought like, I don't want to be one of them people that message you and never actually sticks to my word. So then Rob, obviously, husband, I texted him saying, I've messaged Joe, I think we're going to sign up. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. And then I left it a couple of weeks and I just texted him one day at work. It was when I think you actually posted Leah's results. Yeah. And I posted them, I sat at work and I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I signed us up and I texted him saying, I've signed us up. And his response was like, oh, this is real. And I was like, yeah, yeah.
Typical Rob.
Yeah,
typical
this is
Rob.
real.
It's a shame. It's a shame Rob can't be with us today. But I think just for the viewers that are watching, like obviously when you say us, it's you and your partner Rob. Yes, both of which was featured in Bella magazine, which is incredible. I think that's got to be your biggest achievement, is getting Rob to
actually get into the magazine. Yeah, absolutely.
Is definitely it. And we've spoke about this on previous podcasts, because obviously a lot of people see JD training as an online training program, and I'm obviously quite passionate about sharing the journey that obviously JD training was, prior to going online, was a brand in itself. We were local, we were working with a lot of people locally and getting some incredible results locally and building a community locally, and then we just kind of took that ethos and then took it online. But a lot of people looking from the outside in will see it as just an online program, and although everyone goes through the same 16 weeks habit coaching, the only difference is where they do the workouts, whether it's with me in person or whether it's obviously at home online or in the gym online as well. So obviously you've seen a couple of, the really good thing about this is obviously I know how many people took action because of your results. And that is exactly what I want my business to be known for, essentially, is that referral kind of stuff. With regards, people see the results, they tell people, they see people that have got results, and then they come into the program. And I think that's the best way, in my opinion, to market.
Well, I would have never thought, when I took them very first pictures, Rob took them and I was like, oh my God, they're absolutely disgusting. Like, they would have never gone anywhere had I not got the results I got.
Yeah, and a lot of people, again, I did a post about it yesterday where I said you do not have to share your results. People share the results because they're proud of what they've achieved. And we talk a lot about, and I probably said it to you on the messages before, about it's kind of putting it out there to be like, this is the new version of me.
Yeah.
So it stops you from them going back into the excuses of like, oh, well, I'm just going to slip back to the old version.
Yeah.
It's kind of you putting out to the world like, this is the new version of me, and this is kind of
who I'm going to be.
Who I'm going to be and what I want to be as well. And that's a big thing. So you decided to join up. You joined on the home program.
Yep.
Obviously, since then you've gone into the gym. So tell me a little bit about that. What was your first thoughts when you joined up, and how did you find that them first couple of weeks?
I think it started on the 2nd January, so it was literally like you had Easter, what do we have? New Year, and it was like bam, straight into it. We didn't have any dumbbells or nothing. We had to wait for the order to come. So we was a day late already, and I remember we put the kids to bed and we both had a workout to do. So we was in the living room. It's literally
looking at each other like...
Not much bigger than this, and
Brilliant.
we were like, what the heck are we doing? So he timed me well, and I did it, and then we swapped over, and oh my God, it was just shocking. Like, I think we spent more time on the app looking at what are we meant to be doing than we actually worked out. And then I was literally did like, like 3 walkouts, and I was like, I can't do this. I literally cannot do any more. And I think if it wasn't for that first week and Rob pushing me, I don't even know if I'd be where I am today, because it was just, it was unbelievable. Literally trying to get up off the floor was just hard work. And then I think it must have been 2 or 3 weeks before we got to fit camp. I can't remember, but it wasn't long after. And then, obviously fit camps were more intense than a home workout. So then we just stick to them. And then I think that's where you got then in your rhythm. And because it wasn't a choice, we just knew that's where we had to go. And that was my workouts for the week. It didn't even think about it. It was like, that was my habit, and I just went, and then it progressed and just formed from that. Yeah. But it wasn't daunting because everything, it drip fed, but at the start it was like a bit like, oh wow. A bit of a reality check, maybe. Yeah,
and I think that's we talk about it quite often. Like, it's not daunting because it is very much drip fed, but that doesn't stop the fact that obviously you're making a change, and making a change is very difficult. And I think sometimes, like, it's that, I always say progress pictures are a little bit like checking your bank balance. We've all been there, haven't we, where we've been on a night out or we've had Christmas or whatever, and you're just like, I'm going to carry on spending, but I'm not actually sure how much in there. I don't want to look at it because it'll make me feel worse. And that's what progress pictures are like. Is like, people will maybe gain weight slowly or over a numerous years, but they never see themselves any different. So when they see that progress picture, they're like, oh my God, like, I feel like I'm looking at somebody else. And it can be that realisation of you either make a change or you go, do you know what, this is too much for me. And that's why we make sure there's a lot of support around that time when you're doing that, is because that can be like a real big trigger, really. So you've gone through that first couple of months. Talk to me then about, obviously, you started to get results quite quickly, didn't you? Yeah, very quick. Well, our first 16-week ended as we went on a cruise. So I think that was like the goal. And because the results were coming quick, it was then the more you did it, the more results you had. And it was just that sensation of happiness and seeing them results on the scales. But again, because we're doing it with Rob, it was probably a lot easier than someone doing it on their own, because I don't think I could have done it on my own. To be honest, I would say, and I say this all the time, like, it doesn't make it easier. It depends on the nature of the relationship. I remember once messaging you on the app and you were like, I'm having a breakdown, I don't know what to eat, blah, blah. I remember it. Do you remember it? And you was like, well, Rob's gone on with MyFitnessPal and he's added everything, and I was like, shout out Rob. We was off to Pizza Express and we'd put preempted and we'd looked at the menu, put everything in the app. And then I couldn't make it fit and I had a total meltdown. So he took it off me. He was like, well, you just need to have this and you just need to have that. And I was like, right, okay, that's fine. Yeah, but for some people and some relationships, like, for example, if that was me and Sam, I'm telling you now, Sam won't be having that. Like, it would not happen, and I would not be supporting her in that way. Shout out to Rob, because he definitely has. Like, I'd have just been like, right, okay, it's not my place. And I think you two are kind of a rare couple that have actually kind of pushed each other. And I think at any point, Rob's probably been at a stage where he's ready to quit. You've been at a stage where you're ready to quit. And just because both of you have had different momentum at different times, definitely, it's dragged you across, really. So talk to us about, like, what's changed then. So obviously you're featured in Bella magazine, which is not a rare occasion. What's changed? Just everything. Life obviously has changed, but even like the impact of, like, what the biggest thing I noticed with the kids. So like Nora obviously grew up at a stage where there were old habits, the old me and Rob, where we weren't focused on walking, we didn't do steps, we didn't go out and exercise, we literally just went through life wading through it. And now Ayrton, the other one, is coming to our life where we're totally different. So we do walks and we go for steps and then we get out of the house and we're active. And now them two, if we have to go for a walk at the weekend, attitude of Nora compared to Ayrton is very, very different. So sometimes I look at Nora and I think that's our fault, because we've created that, but she's just got to adapt now, like we've adapted. And Ayrton is well up for a walk. Because that's what he's grew up with. That's one of the biggest things I'd say. And I think that's the big thing. People don't realise, like, people that are watching from afar or they see the online brand, is one of the biggest things to me that, and obviously we spoke about Rob's transformation, and I always come through you pretty much to get his pictures because he'd say no to me.
Yeah, you would.
But one of the big things I always relate back to Rob is it's about that example you're setting to your kids. And me as a father of 4, and obviously watching Rob, and obviously you've brought your kids with you to fit camp numerous times.
Yeah.
They've kind of grew up in fit camp, haven't they, as well?
Definitely.
So for me, that's the most powerful thing that you've done, is you have shown them essentially what's important. You've shown them new habits, and they're the habits that you want them to grow up knowing.
Yeah.
And for me, that is always something that I've always relayed back. Like we spoke before with Sophie about how we kind of support people in different ways, and that is one thing you will see with you guys. If you guys were ever low on motivation, that's one thing I would really drum home, would be like, remember like the example that you're setting to your kids. Like it's all right quitting on yourself, because sometimes as we get older, we've quit on ourselves a few times. But right now, it's more than that. It's like the example you're setting for them.
Yeah, definitely.
So how did you find transitioning into the gym? So obviously you have gone from home to fit camp to a gym, and then you're just about to come into the next stage where we're probably going to fall out,
we probably
where
will.
you're going to join some group PT stuff with me, and Rob's already doing that. So talk to me, how did you find going into the gym? Because obviously I've seen a massive change in you with regards to like the way that you are, the way that you dress, everything like that. So talk to me a little bit, like what was it like at first, and if there's any, let's say there's people watching, what would your suggestions to be then?
So the very first time I went to the gym, I sat in the car for 10 minutes before I got out, and was just like looking like, what the heck do I do in here? And I just sat in, I went in and just went on the treadmill and just watched and just looked and got used to like my surroundings. And it took probably about 2 weeks to be able to go on the free weights or go downstairs on the benches.
That's good going, to be honest. It takes people normally a lot longer than that.
I just went upstairs and like did my own thing and just kept myself to myself, and now again like smiled at a few people like, oh, hi, I'm new here. And then obviously when we went together, but there wasn't obviously very often we could go together because of the kids. And then it just built on there, and I think because of the app, and you do put the free weights in there, you have got to get to that stage of like, you've got to push yourself. And I think because of Fit Camp and of being local, everyone does know me and knows my progress, and everyone knows that I'm on a journey, and people in the gym have seen me, that they're dead supportive of it. So, and to be honest, I know there's a lot of stigma around gym people, gym guys, like people watch you and they like look, but really,
they're too busy looking at themselves.
Absolutely, no one cares what you're doing.
No, and I think that is kind of what people think. Is people think that the gym can be intimidating, the people there are judgmental, and actually I think personally, from someone that's essentially been brought up in a gym, I started my apprenticeship scheme when I was like 17, and I've been in a gym pretty much ever since. I actually find the opposite. I find people are probably the most caring and most inspirational, most motivating, and genuinely respect people that are starting on that journey.
I also couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think my preconception was just like they're all a bit stuck up themselves and they just look down, and it's like actually complete opposite. They couldn't be more willing to help you if you're going to put the effort in and you know that you need. Like there's a guy when I first started, and I stupidly tried to get the trap bar out myself.
Do you know what this is? Like the trap bar is like one of the best inventions known to man, because it gets people deadlifting, it gets people away from this, oh well, if I deadlift I hurt my lower back, and it is a good transition from dumbbells to a barbell. But the amount of people that say to me like, I can't get it out.
Well, I was in this box and you've got to lift it up, and I'm only like 5'1". I was like, this is ridiculous. So I was in this guy and I was like, yeah, he's quite tall, I'm going to ask him. And he was so nice. And then he came back over, he's like, do you want me to put it back for you? Whereas really, you'd have thought, he'd have been like, no, do it yourself. But yeah, so friendly, so helpful. And anyone that you message will always message you back. Or I have some people in Nora's class, like mums, and they always see my progress and they always message me. And it's like, just that little bit of people watching.
I think that's
in the background.
I think that's a Cumbria thing as well. Obviously, I'm not from Cumbria, and there's a lot of things about Cumbria that I slag off. Not having any restaurants drives me mad. Not having any restaurants where you go and sit out and eat. A lot of it's like either hotels or pubs. But one thing I would say about people in Cumbria, and is definitely a massive factor in my growth as a business, is the fact that local people will support local people. And I think that's one thing. And then a little bit what you touched on there about people in the gym, like we spoke off camera, is if I was 6 foot and made it as a footballer, I wouldn't care about building a business, building a brand. I wouldn't care about helping others probably. And it's probably that like little bit of insecurity. And if you look at anybody that goes to the gym all the time, I always say this, a lot of guys that go to the gym all the time were either a little bit bullied as a kid, or obsessed with superheroes.
Yeah.
So they're not in there because they're up themselves, and what a lot of people would generally think.
Yeah,
they're in
definitely.
there trying to better themselves, and when they see someone else doing that, whether it be at the start of the journey or at the end, they're going to be supportive of that because they know where they started. Because a lot of people like fail to see that people started at a certain place. So like, for example, when people look at me and they look at the business, they'll look at it and they'll be like, oh well, he's got this brand, he's got an office. It's like as you well know, like 3 years ago, like that was completely different. So I think people lose track of the fact that the people that are in there and you think are judging you have been where you've been.
Definitely.
They've felt nerves. I remember a black guy from Bradford. He was a police officer, and I remember him coming over. I was about 17, 18. I just joined what I would class as a proper gym, and him literally coming over and being like, if you're not going to put any weight on there, can I jump in? And I was a bit like,
excuse me,
what? Do you know what I mean? Like as a kid, but actually, majority of people that you meet have been through that process of being like a little bit apprehensive in a gym and are supportive of you and be like, look, I will help you. So how did you find that then? So you've transitioned into the gym. Talk to me a little about the ups and downs, because I think it's fair to say
I've had a few.
You've had it, and I think anybody that's honest, people tend to think that progress goes like this, and it definitely doesn't. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. So talk to me about that. Like, how have you managed that, and what's been the triggers, and what have you had to work on around that?
Triggers are probably weekends away and holidays, massive trigger. And you know that from me not weighing in after I get back, not taking progress pictures for a long time because I don't want to face truth. But I think it's just thinking about what you've come back like from, and you don't want to just, there's no point giving it up. Like, and I do enjoy actually going to the gym, and Rob always says if I've not been to the gym for three times in a week, he knows about it because my mood is just all over. But it's also the people, like I enjoy seeing the people that I know from the gym, and like peak JD people, like Laura, who was on the plan. I need to see her a lot. She's coming back.
She's back on.
Yeah.
She's back on now 2 weeks ago.
I heard she was coming back. It's like people like that, and it's like just pushing each other. And I think if I didn't have that, what gives you the buzz, then what would I have?
Yeah, I think people lose track as well. We were talking about this before. We've sort of feel like there's a push and a pull, and I think people think that they're just going to keep making progress and it's going to be amazing, and that's fine. But there comes a time where you need to enjoy that progress, and like you say, going away on holiday when you're feeling more confident, you've dropped weight, you have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's knowing that when you come back, we've got to go back to them habits if we want to feel like that next time we go away, rather than letting that actually contribute to the fact that you're going to go back to your old habits. And also it's a little bit around education as well, isn't it? So I say to you guys all the time, it's water and carbs. Body fat doesn't go on that quick.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest things we've learned. Like, we come off holiday and you could have gained 10 pounds, but you haven't actually physically gained 10 pounds.
Yeah. And it's when you educate people around that and you go, look, the scales might have gone up 10 pounds, you weigh 10 pound heavier, but you haven't gained 10 pound of body fat.
Yeah, definitely.
You've gained water and carbohydrates. So, obviously, you've joined with Rob. What are the benefits and what are the pitfalls with regards joining with your partner? Because I know, obviously, you guys have worked really well together, so you probably have more benefits than anything.
The biggest pitfall is that he's a male and he gets a lot more calories than me. It's really not fun, especially when you're on a deficit.
Do you know what? This comes up all the time, and this actually comes up all the time with a lot of people that do it together, is the fact of, obviously, people think that it's a set program. Obviously, for the first 4 weeks of anyone that joins, we are looking at education. We're looking at how you structure a meal. We're looking at taking accountability, getting used to the app, getting used to me and everything in between. But then after that, obviously, we set your calories, and your calories are set obviously on gender, height, weight, activity levels, and stuff like that. So obviously, generally, men get a lot more calories and can still be in a deficit.
Yeah, it's not nice.
No, I can imagine it's caused a couple of arguments. It has,
yeah, you're right.
When
and
you're
he's
putting tea out.
Eating tea, and then he's got room for like a protein pudding, and I'm like, right, this is not fair. But yeah, no, that's probably one of the biggest things. But I just have to take that, and if that's what it is, that's what it is. And if I've got to be in a deficit, then my deficit is going to be a lot smaller than his deficit.
Yeah,
That's it.
To be fair, Rob is a very supportive partner, isn't
he? Very supportive, but he's also very anal. And if I have something and I'm like, might have gone over by 10, 20 calories, he's like,
no, you didn't.
Excuse me.
Yeah. I always say, and people don't believe me when I say this, so when people say, oh, I track everything, there's two people when they're on it, I know are tracking everything. One is Gemma. And the other is Rob. Yeah. I remember you coming in and being like, the scales have broke and Rob's going to quit. I'm like, what do you mean he's going to quit?
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, he's lost I think, I don't know how much he'd lost at the time, maybe 2 stone, maybe
have no
more.
idea.
And he's like, I'm going to quit because I can't see the scales. I'm like,
Yeah.
just get a new battery, get a new set of scales.
No.
And everything is very much, but that has definitely helped him because once he kind of started to push on, he then, them habits and being so anal about them habits has got him to where he is.
Absolutely.
And obviously now working with him in person as well, he's transitioned onto the group PT. Seeing that in him, you can definitely see that he likes routine. And once you know that about someone, you can then start to build on it. So with everybody, we always ask them obviously, talk to me a little bit about kind of what do you think the trigger was? Was it as a junior? Was it as an adult to gaining weight? Where do you think that comes from? Is it something you've ever thought about?
Never really thought about it, to be honest. I know I've always been overweight right through school and stuff, but never, I wouldn't say there was a trigger.
Yeah.
I think I just like food.
That's simple.
I remember one thing actually. So when I was tiny, and my mum will tell you this story, when we was in Birmingham, we got family there, and I was asleep in the pram, and we were walking past a chippy, and my uncle said, "Oh, I smell that fish and chips," and I instantly woke up. And I always remember, I was like, "That's because I love fish and chips."
Potentially.
Yeah, I just love food.
So that's been from a young age. So
Yeah.
how do you find that now? Obviously, like controlling it now. What?
When I'm in the zone, not too bad, like pretty easy. But when I'm not,
And what's normally not in the zone? Is it emotional triggers? Is it just because
let's
you're
take
pissed
this
off?
week for instance, because in my head,
It starts on
it
Monday.
starts on Monday.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. And I think that kind of is, and it's good that you've shared that because that is the mentality of a lot of people. And this is one of the things, like, as you well know, when you've like maybe had gaps to go on a cruise, and I've always said to you, don't have a gap because that gap can become 2 weeks, it can become 3 weeks, it can become a month, and before you know it, you've gone backwards and you haven't weighed in, and then you don't want to face it, and then you put it off.
That's
and then
where I'm at right now.
Then there's guilt and shame.
But I know Monday comes, and you ain't going to let me.
You're in for a ride on Monday.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of them things. And when you're like that, what is it that snaps you out of it? So let's say, obviously, you're in that mode where you're thinking, I'm going to eat a little bit more. I'm not going to track everything. What is it that we can provide that obviously helps you to get out of that?
Just the support. Obviously, you're always there, and you always like proper reassure me, and then think like, where have you come from? Well, look what you've done, and it's just not worth chucking away. And then I'll look back through my Instagram and just look at different pictures. I'll go back to my start pictures and look at them. Message people. And a big person I message is Andrea. She's always there because I know she has obviously her own battles as well. We're very similar. But then get in your headspace as well. Get out for a walk.
100%.
Yeah,
change of environment, and you know this because I say to you all the time, it's about change of environment, but also it is about looking back, because I think people, once they gain a little bit of weight back, they go, oh, well, what's the point? And it's like, well, actually, if you look how far you've come, like, that's the point, do you know what I mean? And it's definitely about looking at that, and then change of environment. For me, I know we spoke about it off, but like when JD training first took off, I was literally working from an iPad, which was normally sat next to my little boy, and then we'd sleep downstairs, and the only thing I would do was go to the studio, train for an hour before my clients, then train my in-person clients, go home and go back on the iPad. I didn't go to the shop. Like, I'm not ashamed to admit it, like, apart from the garage, I didn't go to the shop, I didn't cook a meal, I didn't go to a gym. That's all I did. And it was only like after like 12 months, I was like, I've done nothing other than this, and I need a different environment. And that's why I went down and joined Kids Gym, obviously down in town, Transformation Unit, shout out to them. And it was just that change of environment that I needed to be like, right, I'm not at work. Because once you've got your phone with you, and it's constant, so you have to have that change of environment, and that change of environment then gives you perspective, and it gives you time to yourself. And I think that's one thing I've spoke to you about before, is people often see like getting in shape as like selfish. It's like, oh, you've got kids, like, oh, you've got a house, why are you not home cleaning, why are you not home cooking, why are you spending time with your kids? And it's like, well, actually, by having that change of environment, going out, getting some perspective, it makes you a better version of yourself for that time as well. So I think that's vitally important. I think a lot of people will probably resonate with that, because there is that guilt.
A lot of people say to me though as well, like, how do you do it? Like, obviously, I work 28 hours at the doctor's, I have my business, my beauty, I've got the 2 kids, so life is busy. But I think if you want it, And again, probably because we've got the support of each other. But if you want it and you want to do it that much, then you will find the time and you will make sacrifices somewhere else. And if we need to do steps, we do it when the kids are in bed and we take it in turns. And
yeah, 100%. And like you've just said, it does come down to sacrifice. And that's the same with everything, whether it's running a business, whether it's on a weight loss journey. It essentially comes on like, and it's not always like that either, but essentially just they have to move up that list of priorities.
Yeah.
Getting your steps in has to move up that list of priorities, and it won't always be like that. And that's what people don't realize is people, when they're in a calorie deficit or when they're in a weight loss journey, is they get sick of it and they're like, oh my god, I can't do this for much longer. And it's like, you don't have to, but you have to get in, do it, and then you can get out, and then you can have more freedom. But people don't, they get so short-sighted is they don't see that there's a journey essentially after that as well. But you're right, life, as we well know, you've had your kids at fit camp, I've had my kids at fit camp. Life does get busy, and I always say that life does get busy, but it's no, I said on the other podcast, people don't like this terminology, but we can easily, as you sure can, and I can as well, get into that victim mentality where I can wake up in the morning and be like, oh, it's harder for me because I've got 4 kids. And that's just not true. It's not true. Everyone's got their stresses, everyone's got their time commitments, their lifestyle commitments. But if you want to make a change, you have to kind of make that sacrifice.
Yeah, definitely.
So just to kind of conclude, like, what are the results? We've spoke a lot about like what you've done, how you felt, how you found the journey. What was your results? Where are we at? What's the progress? What's the journey? And what's next essentially for you?
My biggest goal for this year was to get to my 4 stone, which I was very close to, but we're going to get there for Christmas.
We definitely are.
We are going to get there for Christmas.
Or you're going to break one or the other. No, I'm joking.
No, yeah, we'll get there for Christmas.
Yeah.
So a 4 stone loss for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then it was to have a couple of things on there that I didn't think was possible. So one was like Bella. That would have never have been possible.
Crazy.
And the mini high rocks I did at the gym. Again, why would I think I could ever have minted a mini high rocks like 2 years ago? Would have been insane. And then just carry on and building. I want to like build my strength and just start to see like definition of the muscle, and that's probably, and just carry on. And I don't really have a set goal of weight. I just want to get to a place where I'm happy and content, and
I think that's the biggest thing. I think people get too hung up on the scales, and that takes them away from all the other things, and then they think that they're not making progress if the scales essentially aren't going down. When obviously there's the setting the example to the kids, there's the mental health benefits of training as well. Although we are definitely going to be hitting that number on the scales before Christmas because you've joined the group PT. And what would be your advice to people that are either sitting on the fence, or what would be your advice to people that are currently not in a good place with it and are thinking of kind of quitting, just to end?
Sitting on the fence, I always think like you don't know the outcome unless you try. And I think always never like underestimate yourself. Always give it a full 100% for like a good chance, and then see what, if it's not for you, it's not for you, but at least you give it a go. Because that's, I think, what was the start of me. I didn't know what I was going to achieve, and if I hadn't achieved it, then I hadn't achieved it. Because I think my main goal in them first, 16 weeks, was to lose a stone, and I lost 3.
Yeah. So
I was already happy within like a few weeks of starting the programme. And what was the other question?
What was your drive?
What was my drive?
What was your drive? Because obviously I've got what I believe was your drive. What was your drive when obviously you signed up, we get started, and you're like, I want to lose a stone, you've gone on to lose 3. What was your drive in that
at that
time?
point when I'm already on it?
Yeah.
So when I joined up, I worked at a place, and there was one person that doubted me, and she knew like I'd been on Southern World a lot, I'd done various yo-yo diets, and it sticks in my mind still now. When she doubted me, spoke behind my back and was like, she won't do that, she'll quit.
Yeah.
And it sticks with me.
And I
that
think,
was one of my biggest things.
Yeah, and I think that's something I've always said to you is like, one, you are capable. Like, you know you're capable. Like, you've done harder things, like giving birth's harder. Bringing a child up is harder. But the most important thing about it is I think we used to talk about this quite a lot, is like, is use that as fuel.
Yeah.
So rather than letting that kind of consume you and getting negative about it, use it as fuel. So like, I think you're right. There was a lot of people, and you will probably admit this. There was a lot of people when you joined up that were probably like, why is she wasting her money? And again, going back to Cumbria, everybody knows everyone down there. So they'll have seen everything you've tried before. And then you've gone on to lose 3 stone. And I think, and this is a thank you from me, I think that was one of the biggest things about when your transformation went out, like you're speaking about Leah's. And that's what I find really, and that's how I want my business to be. You joined because of Leah's transformation, but the amount of people that messaged and said, I can't believe Katie Keegan's done this, like, it must work. And it does work. That was people's opinion though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it's because you tried everything before, you found something that worked, you'd found a community, and you just stuck at it. And it was when that picture went out, obviously people locally will know, people online probably not as much, but locally that caused a bit of fuss.
But then that gives you that buzz to, you know what, this is me.
It becomes part of that new personality,
Absolutely,
doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think as well, looking back though, like I've had people that I'm really good friends with, and I post pictures and then they'll pop up and be like, 2 years ago, this was you. And I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, never would have believed that you had that much weight to lose, because I think I was in such denial and I wore clothes to totally cover me up. No one really seen actually how big I was. And now I look back and I think, oh my God, like I was actually really big.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
100%. And I think one of the biggest triggers, I think one of the biggest standout things is obviously Gemma got incredible results. But Gemma's sister, like obviously Gemma's consistency and relentlessness speaks for itself.
Yeah.
But I remember Gemma's sister being like,
you seen me doing a 5k run?
Yeah, I remember Gemma's sister seeing you doing a 5k run and being like, wow, maybe there's something in this JD training thing. And then she went on to have a transformation that's then obviously loads of people joined up off the back of her. She's got a following on Instagram. But Katie, I remember Katie saying, like, I've just seen Katie out doing a 5k run, like. And
she messaged me and I was like, if anyone was going to inspire you, then surely Gemma inspires you. But we've got different lives, and she's like, I can't work at that rate. But if you can do it.
We've got different lives, but also a lot of people, and I say this all the time, I've said it on every single podcast we've done, is the reason I post so many transformations, it isn't like, look at me, it isn't this. Yes, I believe a coach should be judged on their ability to get a result. I don't think a coach should be judged on how good the business is, how good they look, on getting abs to go away. I think a coach should be judged on results. But the biggest reason is eventually you will see someone that resonates with you. And I think that's the biggest thing and it's amazing to see that ripple effect. And this is one of the things we're getting people on to talk about is you've seen Leah Newton's, shout out to Leah, she'll love this. Then you've joined, you've lost 3 stone in 16 weeks, and then X amount of people have seen yours and they've joined. And then Katie saw you doing a 5k and joined, and now she's got a big following off the back of that. And that's what I want the business to be known as, is someone that supports people and gets results. And that's why we post so many of the transformations is for you guys. It's for you guys to put it forward and be like, this is the new version of me and we're going to stick to it. But also from a business perspective, someone will have watched your journey all the way through. You'll have had a positive impact on so many people that you don't even see.
Yeah.
And you know that by going to the events and everyone knows who you are. And that is that kickstart for someone to go, do you know what? If she can do it, I can. Because everybody can, if they're willing to give it enough time, energy and attention.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. Definitely. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
So guys, that's Katie's story. I hope something that she said, talking about her actions, talking about her transformation, has resonated with you, and you see that and you know that you can now take action and you can get results. You just have to give it enough time, attention and energy.